What's up, everyone? This is the Tesla Beat. We typically meet on Fridays, but this week we're doing it a day early just because we have some conflicting schedules. But how's everyone doing? Weird to be doing this on a Thursday, maybe a little bit.
No, I just feel like my weekend starts early. I'm going to just cancel everything else and just head into the weekend. Weekends, what are those?
No
We
idea.
actually got a lot of information out the past couple of days, so it actually worked out.
Well, hopefully Tesla doesn't drop a bunch of dimes tonight as they typically do, right? I also got my Tesla Optimus Holiday one version with the ugly sweater and stuff. So building my collection over here.
You can't see it, but I do have an Optimus hiding in this tree. It's, if I rolled the chair back far enough, maybe it would change focus so you could see it, but who's going to do that?
I wasn't sure if you're trying to make fun of the old age that Joe's turning over there in 44 days. Because you can't see anything. All right. Well, we're going to get into it. Shout out to our friends over at Insta360 for being an amazing sponsor. Check out their link to see. It will move with you as you move around and follow you into the correct position. All right. We are going to get into it. So Tesla Beat 123. Let's get into it. So stock rebounded or went up this past week, but ultimately we're at 19%. So we're back up. We were in single digits for a minute, even low single digits. So it's back up. We are gonna probably end the year. We're at 19% right now, and actually, to be honest, who knows where the year's gonna end? Because with Tesla stock, it can go up and down, and you can see actually just the huge dip that it took, I think in what is it, mid-November, but all-time highs, sorry, not all-time highs, but 52-week highs, which I think are all-time highs, are 488.54. So it's knocking at that door, and who knows, maybe we'll see how the results go for this quarter, but I think we're seeing autonomy rolling out in all of these new areas, which we will get into. Joe, I'll pass this one to you.
But first, we got to talk about Optimus running like a boss. I watched Scott Walter's interview with Herbert, and he was like, "Yes, the gate is actually pretty good, and this is actually a run, categorized as a run, because both feet came off the ground at the same time. So it's pretty cool." And he clocked it at like 5.2 miles an hour or something like that. So somebody made a comment. I say this all to say because somebody had made a comment like, "Oh, can Optimus walk my dog?" And it's supposed to be overpowered, not overpowering. So I don't think you'd want Optimus to walk your dog because he can't restrain the dog. He's going to get dragged down the street. So I would not have Optimus walk a dog.
Chihuahua's probably fine, maybe not Dobermans or Rottweilers.
Big old Saint Bernard dragging Optimus after a squirrel. That's a good. That's not a bug; it's a feature.
Yeah, there's gonna have to be definitely, like, when they roll this out, it's gonna have to be like, okay, Optimus can handle walking dogs up to 20 pounds. After that, it voids your warranty. And then people are gonna be, oh, it was 21 pounds, and my Saint Bernard pulled the thing half a mile. It's like, yeah, just because it's gonna be kind of one of those things. It's like when you get in an accident, they're gonna pull the footage and see what happened, right?
I wanted to ask Hans, what did you think about the hand, though?
The hand looked beautiful. Yeah, it was a great view that we got from Neuro IPS yesterday of it's not even the Gen 3 hand, it was the Gen 2.5. And they had some nice, glove material over it. And the articulation looked great. I'd be very curious to see what type of, the things that we really need to know in order to know how close this is to actually being viable are things that you can't really see in a demo. It's be like, how much force can it really apply? And not just that, but then how many times? Can it do that quickly? And can it do it 1,000 times or 10,000 times or 1,000,000 times? And you don't really find those limits without doing, extensive testing that takes forever. And those are the types of things that are really going to dictate whether or not it's ready to be put into a like a work environment in the factory. Because it's one thing if the Optimus can do a task one time, but then if you're having to change out that Optimus's hands every couple of hours because it's breaking down, or even every couple of days, or even every couple of weeks, like that's going to change whether or not economically it makes sense to put that Optimus there. But they're making great progress, and just like going from the hand that we saw a couple years ago to then the demo that, or not the demo, but the video that we got yesterday from NeuroIPS shows that they've made huge leaps and bounds in progress. And if they're willing to show us that hand, it's exciting to think about what it is that they actually have working in the lab that they're not ready to show us yet.
Yeah, my thoughts are like, I guess, as you're thinking through all this stuff, obviously we know that there's going to be different forms of Optimus, right? You're going to probably have the one that's at home that can handle all of the tasks. There's going to be that type of version for sale. Then there's going to be the industrial, like manufacturing and production one that are probably going to cost a little bit more because you're going to need the more robust hands and things like weight limits that it can carry and do things like that. But it really, you might even get to a point where again, it kind of becomes like it's kind of like, and what's crazy is the way that Tesla's set up right now. Like, let's say at mass scale, even in the United States, let's just take the United States, for example, you start buying these, you might even be able to go get these serviced at the Tesla service centers and, potentially even be able to swap out hands because you're like, you know what? No, I need more of like, an upgraded version, right? I want to it kind of becomes like your car. You start modifying like the tiers that you want, which could be really interesting. I mean, it starts to boggle my mind what's going to be potentially possible, or at least initially they probably won't give access to something like that, but at mass scale, you're going to be able to like, oh, you want this thing to be pink? You're going to be able to like buy like, like little covers to go over the various parts to make it all pink or, whatever you want, right?
Yeah, just stop by your mall kiosk and get the different skins for all of
Exactly.
your.
That's hilarious. That would work. Here's the thing: is I refuse to take my Optimus in, but it'll do it itself. Why would I ever need to even know where the service center is? It just hops in a robocab, and for that matter, maybe it doesn't. Maybe a different one just shows up for an hour to do the task that requires the specialized dexterity. Um, I think it's entirely possible that we're still thinking about this in a very old-fashioned way that doesn't make sense, and that Tesla and the Optimus team and Elon are 10 steps ahead of us.
Yeah, no, of course. And who knows, it could look like the old-fashioned way initially, and then as they scale. But it's really, for me, it's going to come to how do they scale the robo taxis, and then how do they scale this? Because, the good and bad thing with these robots is that they're going to be, and the good and bad thing about Tesla is that the good thing is that they innovate at such a fast clip. The bad thing is when you buy one version, like 6 months later, it could be obsolete in some cases. Obviously, they're going to maintain it and whatever, but I can tell you the first 2 to 4 years, this thing is going to look so different from initial launch to 6 months to a year. We were talking with a Neuralink patient the other day. It's the same thing, right? The chips that he was patient number 7, there's patient number 13. There's just like the one that he got in June is probably different than the one that they have today. So it's just like, they're constantly reiterating, and it's a good and bad thing. It's good for technology. It's bad in that, like, from a customer perspective, like, you're going to be spending a lot of money, and then 6 months later, Tesla's going to have something a little bit better. All right. So Tesla Christmas time, obviously, it looks like Tesla's dropping all of these great presents. You can see actually the Tesla Semi and Cybertruck, the Cybercab wind up, and then of course Optimus. I had him in the back. They have some of the other stuff, like some of the water jugs that you can buy as well. So just, yeah, getting in to make sure you accessorize your December. All right, Joe, I'll throw this one to you, man.
Yes, as I sit inside. So 14.2.1 is a game changer. So the lady on the right, your right, she's a super investor in tech and things like that, and she finally took a ride in a robo taxi and realized what we've all known is how amazing it is and how well it drives and everything, and she was taken aback. It reminds me of that interview that Elon did with Nikhil, and he had asked him like, "Hey, have you been in?" And he's like, "No." He's never even been in a full self-driving Tesla, but yet he's like this super investor. It's kind of, I mean, so we say this all the time, like adoption requires education, but it's just so wild that these people are so heavily invested in something and they haven't fully experienced it. So wild.
And it's weird to me because it cuts both ways. There are people who haven't experienced it who are sure it's the worst thing ever, but also people who haven't experienced it who think it's the best thing ever. I happen to think it's the best thing ever, but that's because I use it every time I drive. 99% and climbing is what I'm at, and it's amazing. But you're telling people to invest their money, you're investing millions of their dollars in something based on me saying it's good. Nobody listens to me, man. There's a reason for it too.
Yeah, I feel like that happens a lot, right? It's just one of those things where, like, it's for example, it's like Gordon Johnson. Hey, don't invest in this company. Elon's a fraud. It's like you haven't even done the homework. And he's like, "Well, I don't want to die." It's like, how are you like you don't even know what like how do you know that this is not going to be the Amazon of the future if you won't see what the capabilities are? But V14 has been the 14.2.1. I mean, like I said, I've done 92% on FSD. The remaining 8%, roughly the remaining 8% was I was off-roading and had a snafu with a flat tire, so I had to deal with some of that. But literally, like before that, it was 98, 99% was all FSD, and I'm driving sometimes that last, 0.1 mile or finishing it up, but it's driving me everywhere. I can't tell you. And I've driven over 850 miles in my Cybertruck, right? And it's just like it's that good now. I mean, like I can honestly say like I'm not driving my car. Like I'm doing like practically nothing, and it's crazy how far we've come. And again, this has been the biggest update that I've seen in 18 months, and this is the closest that I've ever seen it, and outside of sitting inside of the robo taxi. So I don't know, I'm really excited. Hans, were you say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's hard to take Gordon seriously about safe. Like, if you're willing to do a lot of full self meat driving, then don't tell me about safety, because version 14 is like in combination with human supervision is way better than normal driving. And I really experienced that firsthand this last week. I had a road trip to see family in Colorado. And so I drove up there on version 14.1.4. I drove back on 14.2.1. It was excellent. But the best part from a safety perspective for me was we made the drive back from Colorado in one day. So it's almost 860 miles. It was 15 hours from the time we got in the car to when we got home. And the last 3 hours of that through Dallas and the last leg of the trip here into East Texas, it was raining. It was dark outside. And then, if you've ever driven through Dallas, you know that the interstate exchanges can be extremely complicated. There was a fair bit of traffic. It was late enough in the day to where it wasn't crazy rush hour traffic in Dallas, but that would have been miserable for me to have to navigate all of that by myself. So the safety benefits that I got from having the Tesla do all of the navigation, all of the lane changes, watch cars 360 degrees around me in the rain, which East Texas drivers are terrible in the rain. It is ridiculous. Anytime, interstates in rain in Texas equals instant car crashes because people just suck. And so, having the car watch for all of that And then if I had been driving myself at that point in the road trip, I would have just been completely exhausted from the whole trip there. I may have not even finished. I may have just pulled over, taken a break, taken a nap or something instead of actually try to make that drive at that time of day in those conditions. But the car just handled it flawlessly, super confident. Even when it said, hey, performance is degraded, like it never did anything wonky or weird. It always, like, it felt super planted, super smooth, and it just handled everything perfectly on the way home. There was the only thing that I ended up disengaging for in that whole 3 hour stretch was one just little nuisance where it didn't want to go more than 65 mile an hour because of visibility, which is the right thing. But then because the speed limit was 75 mile an hour, it also didn't want to go less than 65. And there happened to be a semi truck up on the right that was driving also at 65 mile an hour. And so I was kind of caught in the little spray cone behind the truck, and I had to disengage in order to get it to either go back or forward. Like, let's just not be right here. So that was like the one thing, the whole stretch there, that I had to disengage for. But other than that, it was perfect. And that was just such an exceptional road trip experience. I never want to have to drive that far in a single day without FSD again. It was just absolutely relaxing, comfortable. Way, 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 way better than driving an ICE car those types of distances.
Now that you mention it, I think that we should be asking all of these skeptics, what is your daily driver? Let me see what you're doing, because it's like taking advice from a chef without knowing if they can actually cook. If I find out you're driving a 2015 Blazer, maybe I don't care what your opinion on autonomy is, because you're not part of it. You don't know what it is. You don't use it. So I think that's actually really valuable. And in terms of road tripping without FSD, I don't think I can go back. You've ruined me, Tesla. You've ruined me.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I've been driving a Tesla now for 7 years, and probably since 2020. Even with, I mean, autopilot's been great, but really when they released FSD beta, as it was just doing more of like the lane changes and going from highway to highway. I mean, you can't go back. I mean, this is, but like I said, I really can feel like I can say that my truck is driving me. Like, I go from my driveway to Starbucks, it parks, it pulls me out of my driveway, it handles whatever's in front of me, and then boom, I'm done, right? It's just like, and I think actually, us as advocates, as we're talking to people, I think we need to let people know, like, oh yeah, the latest update now, I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just supervising and sitting back and watching the ride. And it's gotten that good. And now it goes back to the same thing of like 2018, 2019. We need butts and seats so people see this, because this has been that big of an update. So previously it was like butts and seats will sell because the car is amazing. Now it's like butts and seats, it's like because the car drives itself and it's that good. You know what I mean? And that's what it was kind of before, but now it's more than ever. It's like that's that next step. That's what we're all talking about. All right, so somewhat off topic, but very much been on X. And also too, if you have been to the X takeovers, we had Jared come uh about 2 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. But right before he did his Polaris Dawn, it actually had gotten postponed and he was able to make it in person. But I know one thing I will say, for all of us who've been through, major like life journey events and things like that, this guy, was nominated. He went through Congress, went through all of the, the speaking sessions, and then he got deselected, the biggest class act. And then, he'd never once publicly said anything, or even I would assume even privately, but just he just was a complete class act through this whole situation. And then next thing you know, several weeks back, if not a month over now, Trump elects him again to be the next NASA administrator. So he's going through everything now. And I think hopefully at this point he will be, sworn in pretty soon. But really excited to see someone that, we've personally interviewed. But just also there's no one more deserving and with more experience in spaceflight, because he's been up there several times now, than him that should be, running NASA. But yeah, so shout out to him.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
It's not just his qualifications. He's absolutely qualified. It's his passion. He is here for the mission. And no matter what you're doing, no matter what your objectives are, I want people who are mission driven in charge of missions. Otherwise, you get uh, otherwise you get lazy bureaucrats who think I can run anything, and they end up running a car company or a tech company or something like that. You look at it going, boy, this is a weird fit. And the person thinks, well, I may be a weird fit, but I'm getting paid. That's the wrong perspective in my view.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it looks like from what Joe Chetmeyer was saying, it looks like they're going to fast track it to where probably on Monday he'll be sworn in. It said something about December 8th, so it looks like they are going forward. I mean, Jared was like you said, when we met him at the takeover, the nicest guy, man. He wanted to go over and above just for the takeover. He wanted to fly his jet across and do all kinds of stuff they wouldn't let him do, but he was so in, man. Just an all over great guy. So it's pretty awesome that he gets to do it.
Yeah, just someone who will look out for, the small guys out there just doing stuff and help just take things to the next level.
Yeah, and to Brian's point, someone who actually knows how to get things done. This is not someone who's a career politician. And not only, he's got experience in space, he knows how to get things done, but he has incredible foresight around the types of things that NASA needs to be focused on in the future, because things have changed. Private space really does change the nature of the type of work that NASA should do versus should let private companies do. And his perspective on that, I think, is exceptional and will be a huge win for NASA, and it'll be a huge win for space overall.
You can just hear it in his speech. If anybody wants to go see that new acceptance speech he gave, I mean, he's like, whenever he speaks, man, it's so inspirational, man. It's like,
Yeah.
it's heartwarming for real.
He also said, I think he opens up like, hey guys, like 6 months ago when I was here, it was to go through my qualifications. Today I come with a sense of urgency of like, this is the space race. We need competitors, but like we need to be number one. Like, let's go, All
and
right.
China's not sitting around just waiting for us to get our act together. They are pushing ahead aggressively. It looks like at this point in time, they could very well beat us back to the moon. And we said that we were going to be back there first before them. And if we take that seriously, then we need to actually put our money where our mouth is and get moving.
Yeah, seriously. I saw a flight that they had the other day. They're getting close to landing their rocket. So Bezos did, so shout out to Blue Origin, but China is they're knocking at the door. That's for sure. All right, Joe, I'll pass this one to you.
Tesla is constantly building the future. I made a comment about how not a lot has been said about how much they are doing out of this building that's unfinished. But I mean, somebody needs to freaking make a movie on this because, I mean, they are hundreds of thousands of vehicles out of an unfinished factory, and then they're constantly expanding it and doing all this kind of stuff. But anyway, Joe Chetmeyer has had some really great overhead shots of it. What looks like crash testing is happening for the Cybercap, so that's pretty cool. And then they're also adding to the intelligence, which Brian, would you like to expound upon your comment?
Oh, I mean, what more do I need to say? Optimus University is where you learn to be an optimist. The whole point of Cortex 2 is we need to train the bot to do things. Cortex 1, all about FSD. We've seen how well that worked. Driving is a little easier. Your outputs are limited to kind of direction and velocity, where a robot also has hands. It also has balance. It has a lot more to do. So let's say it's 6 months from now and you've got an Optimus 3 and it works and it's been delivered. What can it actually do? All kinds of little things. You know what I needed to do? Something very specific. Where's it going to learn to do that? in that giant building you just saw. And it's hard to understand the scale of it. In those pictures, the ones on the right, though there are people in that picture. You just can't see them from here because they're tiny. That little platform that looks like looks like a patio is about 15-20 feet tall. It is massive. It spans, hundreds of feet, and that's where the cooling will be. So this is a huge undertaking. And what I would point out on this and the previous Cortex at the other end of the building, the main building, is that these are huge, expensive, capital intensive projects that almost don't get noticed on the balance sheet because the company is so big and so profitable. Even while building all this out, we're still watching the cash pile get bigger and the company doing really well. So I don't know. It's exciting to see Optimus going to school.
It's crazy. Well, as and it's kind of crazy when you think of. I feel like, and we talk about this probably or mention it to some effect. Like every week, we get in here and we talk about stuff. But like, you think of the and I'm just thinking three of the things. You guys are probably could even add in more. But like, when you think of the things that Tesla is doing and building, like whether it's the Cybercab, the Optimus robot, and then obviously, kind of what goes with the Cybercab, but it just with FSD, it's like these are three things that could change or will change the world as it comes out, and Tesla's just at the forefront of it, and they're slowly working to get all of those things done, and it's just it's exciting, and with that. Um, FSD is coming to Europe. They're knocking at the door. They're doing demo rides in I think it's three countries, Italy, France, and Germany right now. And the mayor of Rome, shout out to Andre. He was able to kind of like sit in the back and see this happen. But the mayor of Rome, Roberto, was able to get the experience of FSD, and this is the first time an Italian mayor has personally tested the most advanced capabilities of the next generation assisted driving, tackling the typical complexities of our streets. So it's getting real. I mean, V14, like I said, has been huge, and it's kind of crazy how everything is just like steamrolling now. And in Europe, I forgot, I was talking with, what is it, Simon and Carl from Tadiddle, who are both from the UK originally. And they said that all you need in Europe is just one country. Once you get one country, the dominoes will fall for the rest of Europe. So whether it's going to be the Netherlands first, whether it's going to be Italy first or Germany, they're all knocking right now. It's just you just need one domino to fall, and you'll get the rest of Europe. But it's really exciting because I think for Europeans, all of the competitors are pretty much at parity with Tesla as far as like the autopilot on the highway and what they have legalized there. So there's really no extra reason to go get a Tesla outside of maybe the safety. But as far as like the drive assist capabilities that have been unlocked in Europe, it's all at parity now. I mean, originally, like 5-6 years ago, Tesla was still way ahead. But now everything is regulated there. So this will unblock that. And again, it won't matter at that point how much you hate Elon. This is going to be a huge game changer for Europe. All right, Joe, this one's to you. Your favorite person.
Mary about her business, Bara. So, in an interview recently, she said that she had corrected the president when he said that she was the leader. Mary led. So Mary led in apologies, apparently, and nobody heard it until she was just interviewed like all this time later. Convenient, but if true, like respect to her for that. But I mean, clearly she's making moves to speak about this now when she could have definitely spoke about it then. She's up to something. So whatever Mary's up to, we can see through it, Mary.
And that's the thing, is you don't get to wait until years of rightful harassment for being the absolute fool that you are to go back and say, actually, I didn't do that. You guys, no, I said it at the time. Just real quick. I just use my inside voice is the thing. Now, look, you had an right then and there. At least the next day, you should have said, honestly, full credit to the people who actually did the thing that you're saying that I did, if not on the spot. You don't get to revise history this far in the past, in the future. Come on, do better, Mary.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. What was it? December of 2021, she's the leader making 26 EVs. And I get it. Even like even to this, right? Like why come out in December of 2025? Trump got elected in January. So if this is making moves to like become closer with his administration, why not January? It's just the timing is just so random. And at least as far as like, the publicity you got, people, this is something you could have told us all about without even snubbing, Biden, because who knows if he was even mentally would have known that you had done that. But it's just like it's one of those things where, the timing is just so odd. It's like why even come out at this point? I mean, we all know you led anyway, so why does it matter like changing that? Like what do you get out of this? Do you get, I mean, like you see Harris coming out now and saying certain things. You also see now Mary Barra. It's just you know, it doesn't the math isn't mathing for me in this. Like I don't know why even waste the time with this.
I can
Yeah,
see
and
a lot of reasons to change your story later, but in this case, John, I'm with you 100%. Why? What difference does it make? Why now? Well, did you lose a bet? I don't understand.
Can you imagine though? I mean, look at 2021 to 2025 as we are encroaching on 2026, and they are still so far behind. That's insane. They've had all these years. Not only that, but like just leading up to this, back in before they even released the Model 3, I was like, man, there's no way that the industry is gonna just let them keep this lead and just keep going for it. I mean, like, but holy cow, man! Like, it's really bizarre.
If
Yeah,
you discount autonomy, there are only a handful of cars that are remotely as good today as the 2018 Model 3. Once you include autonomy, I mean, nothing compares. But for 90, 80, 90% of buyers, FSD isn't something they use. So just leave that out and say, I mean, I guess the new Ionic has better range, maybe better performance, maybe than a 2018. You know how long it took others to catch up with the 2012 Model S. Ages. Some of them still haven't. Come on, Toyota. I'm looking at you with your ever so flashy and well-named buzz forks. I think they could do better, and I think they should. I hope there's time for them.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's what it's called, man.
I need, I need that on a t-shirt.
All right, so China continued to lead the way, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest Tesla market right now. But they are sold out of Model YL through January of 2026. So, estimated wait times right now for new orders are not until February. So they can't even produce enough right now. Everything that they're going to produce through January, or up to what will be sold through January is already gone. So, yeah, I still think that this car should come to the US. That's just my opinion. Obviously now I mean, if you bring this car, does it make sense to have the standard? That's going to be something that they have to decide. But I do think that this would do very, very well here. So I hope.
Tesla hasn't introduced new models in 9 million years. It's terrible. People pretending there have been no new vehicles. Well, the YL is a new vehicle. It's a new form factor. It's a new market. I do believe we're going to see it out of every continent where Teslas are made at some point. Because if what you're really worried about is that sales is going to fall off in Q1, Q2, I got a remedy. The standard Y and 3 in all markets and the YL in all markets. Those will grow the market. And the only concern I would have, and I think, John, you were hinting at this a minute ago, is in the US, do you really want to make the Y, the YL, and the standards in the same factory on the same line? Hey, we got 2 factories. We could split it up if we want to. And that would make it a lot easier, at least in the domestic market.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this rolls out. And but yeah, I mean, all eyes for the future are just solving autonomy and getting this cybercab ramped, but a lot of it's going to come down to regulation and getting all of that figured out, especially but I'm hoping the YL comes here. And yeah. All right, Joe, what's the upbeat, dude? You're on mute.
Not much. What's upbeat with you?
Joe is frozen.
No, I got
Okay.
it.
You were frozen and then came back.
I clicked the wrong button. The upbeat is a quick response trivia. No, I'm just kidding. It's a quick response segment that we have, so to get you guys' opinions, tidbits, and information out about something that you may or may not have read about recently.
All right, we are gonna pass this one to Hans first. Typically, we start with Brian, but this week I'm feeling different. Okay, so Starlink store is in Nebraska. They now have a retail store. Hans, what do you think?
Great to start expanding into physical locations. Man, Starlink is such a great business for SpaceX, and the amount of capability that they are adding to the network has been incredible over the last couple of years. The coverage is getting to be better and better. Speeds are getting better in lots of places. And so this is just, one more step along the way to eventual SpaceX dominance. There still will be some old legacy network providers and cell providers in areas where, there's too many people in a compact location. But the area where they actually have a good business is going to continue to get squeezed down more and more and more by Starlink and companies like Starlink in the future. And yeah, so being able to go to a physical location, not have to do everything online, is going to be part of that overall expansion. And it's great to see this milestone.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, if you're trying to reach the rural buyers, a lot of them don't want to do the online thing any more than they have to. They would love a physical store to actually just pop in and go, what is it? Tell me about it real quick, in ways that, you could do with Grok right now. They don't want to do that. Meet the customer where they are. This is such a huge opportunity for so much of the world's surface, maybe not the world's cities, but this is just huge.
Yeah.
And there's one more element to that as well that I think is important to highlight. The scale of manufacturing that SpaceX has set up for Starlink is something that goes widely underreported and widely underappreciated. The number of terminals that they churn out, all made in the US, domestic supply chain, domestic production, like that Starlink factory down there in Bastrop is an absolute beast. I think it really is the closest thing that Elon has produced so far to his alien dreadnought, completely automated production facilities. And they have just been able to ramp up production incredibly. That's one of the big keys. Obviously they've got to get the satellites in space. Once you've got the satellites in space, you need the receivers on the ground. And so one of the reasons that they're able to start expanding into these physical retail locations is because their production has reached a point where they really can start saturating kind of the backlog of people who wanted to have Starlink and were having to wait because they couldn't get the receivers. And then, of course, ramping up production means that the Starlink terminals hardware is a lot cheaper, and so you can reach more customers for that reason as well. So yeah, sorry, a little bit long-winded, but I think people just don't really understand exactly how many moves SpaceX is making in this arena right now.
Well, I think I think I've said this before. There's two things that, like, there's a lot of things that Elon does that kind of have like the sexier look, like the robot, autonomy, the cybercab, but there could be potentially two things that are just sleepers that end up being what makes the actual biggest impact on humanity, right? And number two is going to be potentially Neuralink, right? Which is like literally giving, like accessibility to parts of your body that you literally were written off for, like ALS. And then number one is going to be internet access to the most underserved and remote areas on the planet. Hans, I have this like weird connection with you because of East Texas, because I grew up going there every summer. And there's a small city of literally 100 people, and that was, again, probably a number from like 10 years ago, but it's literally like dying out. It was 100 people, Petty, Texas, East Texas, outside of like Paris, Paris, Texas, 20 minutes. And there's no internet access out there. Like, it was just, you would have to use these, like the Dish Network cell. Like, I think my uncle's using like the T-Mobile like thing, but Starlink is so consistent. It just takes 5 minutes to set up. And yeah, you're exactly right. People in these remote areas don't want to go and do the online thing because they barely have internet, right? They might have it on their phone, but they want to go and touch it and feel it and things like that. And so, providing access to not only like places like rural America, but obviously even, villages out in Africa to, the Amazon, like, just this is the type of stuff where it'll be life changing. It'll give them access to stuff. And ultimately this stuff, what is this doing? This is paying for the mission to Mars, right? Maybe first to the moon. We got to stop there first, but SpaceX is already profitable from what I've seen. It's all because of Starlink. And so at this point, it's just like, yeah, it's crazy. All right, long rant. So, Brian, Grok is smarter. Fact. I think, we know that Grok continues to just reiterate and have a bunch of new versions coming out all the time, and there's a lot of rankings that come out. But what are your thoughts?
So if you guys haven't tried Grok, try it. I mean, it's you gotta get your own hands on. I've been tinkering with AIs since they first became popular a few years back. And people would always, why don't you use AI in your daily workflow? Because it's not good. The test I would give it is I would ask it a topic I know intimately to see where it goofs up. Because if it's going to goof up on something I know, I have to assume it's goofing up everywhere. And about a year ago, I'd say Grok got to the point where it wasn't goofing up anymore. I could ask it detailed questions about scientific things and it would get them right and teach me something. I'd read it and say, that's nonsense. And I'd look it up and find out, oh, things have changed since last I checked. That's where we're at with Grok. And it's only getting better all the time. XAI has a huge compute advantage over the majority of their competitors. You could argue that Google has a lot of computers, that Microsoft has access to a lot of compute, but that doesn't mean they're doing it smart. And they're certainly not doing it with the kind of focused, dedicated system of a brand new equipment the way XAI is. And it shows. While image generation, we discussed in the pre-show, still lags some of the competitors, things like Grok Imagine, the video generator, is insane. The things you can make it do effortlessly to take a picture of your dog and just animate it. The dog can fly now. That's unbelievable. And it's only getting better. And if you say, okay, I don't want to look at it, you can look at the benchmarks, and the benchmarks show astounding performance.
Yeah. Don't have to believe us. Go believe it there for yourself. All right. So, Joe, Waymo, not enough LiDAR. Joe's on me.
Yeah. If this had been a Tesla Cybercab, it would have been all over. But here we have a Waymo with passengers just driving through a police standoff. Like, I mean, they had guns drawn. The actual video is pretty crazy. Like, they have guns drawn. They're pulling a guy out of his vehicle, and I mean, full full guns out, man. That could have been a shootout, and the Waymo is just like, excuse me, pardon. It's
If
like,
you look out the
like,
right side of the bus, you'll see law enforcement engaged in criminal suppression.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can almost see the suspect who's down on the ground as it comes by, like, should I make a run for it? Like, should I take advantage of this Waymo? It's distracting the cops. And he's
Yeah.
like, no, maybe not.
Yeah, he's just confused. What's this Mr. Magoo doing in the middle of a crime scene?
yeah, man, it's so wild, and not one peep from Dan O'Dowd.
Yeah.
Like not a
The
peep.
silence is weird.
Yeah, man, the bias is palpable.
All right, Hans, FSD progress in EU. Breaking the European FSD train is charging ahead. Spain made a legal framework and gives the green light for nationwide FSD testing.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, EU kind of is one of those areas where, because it is a union and changes made in one country actually do affect the entire EU, it is one of those things where a single domino has the potential to just rapidly unlock full self-driving across all of the European Union. And we've seen lots of different places where they're kind of toying with this idea. And so whether it's, like we said, Norway's got their project, the Netherlands has their project, Italy is looking at it. I think Czechoslovakia, even if I remember correctly, was doing some advanced testing and may be on the edge of doing some approvals. So adding Spain to the list is like one of these things is going to actually approve it in the not too distant future. And then Europeans will have access to some good full self-driving for a change. And that'll be a great moment for the EU in terms of safety and technology experience. And hopefully once that happens, like we said, it'll just kind of be a tidal wave that sweeps the entire EU.
100%. We are knocking, and we'll get there. All right, Joe, HBO show scripted, HBO to develop scripted series about Elon Musk.
Yeah, so Vance had posted this because apparently they are scrapping the project. It's kind of sad because he was saying that they had some really good scripts and things that were true and still were lighthearted enough to where he thought it was going to go forward. But somebody needs to pick this up, and somebody needs to make this. It's kind of, I mean, we get it because we're in it every day, but there's so many people who don't realize the things that Elon has done. Like people think like, oh, you need a university with your name on it, or a wing to a university, or something like that. When Elon's just out here like doing good for the sake of doing good and not for the appearance of it. And he had said that in that interview with Nikhil, and I think that was the first time they had heard it. I mean, he's been saying it for years. It's like what he believes, but it was just kind of just one of those things that you just realize that this man deserves so many flowers and he's just not getting them, especially from the mainstream media. That it's just like, man, somebody really needs to tell the story, tell it well. There was a little, I didn't add it to the deck, but there was a little 30-minute video that somebody had AI generated, and it was pretty good about his life story. It's pretty dope.
For sure. All right, guys, we got through another week. This is, I think, a little bit outdated, but just a couple of big things I just wanted to make announcement on. I'll pass it to Joe, to you real quick too. But really, it's the thing at the bottom. So we have our annual holiday toy drive. And block party and Tesla Light Show. It's from 1 to 5, December 13th. Literally across the street from the Tesla headquarters for engineering. And we got permits to literally block off the whole street. So I heard that Santa and Mrs. Santa are going to be there as well. That's literally why Brian is driving all these hours, because he has to put in his gift request to Santa. So, but yeah, Brian will be there. But yeah, I think I'll let that's a plug. But Joe, do you want to just do a quick plug about some of the stuff you got going on this weekend too?
Yeah, this weekend we have a toy drive and a fundraiser at the Raising Cane's in Lodi happening 12 to 4. It's gonna be pretty awesome. If you mention the Tesla Club while you're buying your stuff, then 15% of that goes towards our nonprofit, so we can donate that. But yeah, that's what's happening this weekend. And since our light show is in the evening, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at your thing during the day over there. So
Well,
that was going to be a
we'll see.
surprise. But
Well, no, it's because Mr. Santa Claus is going to be there. That's why you just told us all about it.
yeah, no, I need to put in my request.
Exactly. Well, with that said, just a huge shout out to Mr. 44 Days Until I'm 55, Joe, San Joaquin Valley, for making the deck this week. And just a shout out to Hans and Brian for, just co-hosting and being here and giving us their expertise. Please give them all a follow on X, they're tagged, or YouTube as well. But some of you are also just tuning in from the FutureAza side anyway. So, but we will catch you guys all next week. We hope you have a great one. And hopefully Tesla doesn't drop a bunch of dimes. Otherwise, we will catch you guys all up on that next Friday. So there will be no show tomorrow. And have a great holiday weekend and Merry Christmas, everyone.